So there is a part to non-duality where we intellectually understand things. So there is a communication that happens and there is a registering in thoughts about this subject. Ramana Maharshi used to say you use thoughts like a thorn. You use one thorn to remove another thorn. And then you throw both thorns away. But some people get stuck in the idea that non-duality is a thought, but they don't even know that they're seeing it as a thought because they believe that's the recognition. And basically what that is a person has recognized non-duality. So it's like an abstraction of the mind. The mind has kind of realized it or comprehended it, but it's not a personal thing. And it's not something that the mind can comprehend. So this is often great confusion in non-duality. And it leads to thoughts of I've got it, because the mind thinks it's got it, but then it doesn't even know that it's thinking I've got it. It just does that automatically. But maybe I should also go back to describing what non-duality is and talking about it a little bit more, because otherwise I'm done for an introduction. I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's not an energetic, it's not a thought, it's an energetic shift. And what I mean by energetic shift is a shift from being a subject that's perceiving to the subject being perceived. But that's quite abstract, so what does that mean? Yeah. So what is non-duality? Non-duality to me is the best subject in the entire universe. It saved my life. I say this many times. If I hadn't had that shift, I think that my character was pretty screwed. It was a difficult set of circumstances for this character. And then after that shift happens, so that's not the end, that's in the way the beginning. So that shift happens, and then after that, your character kind of expands more and more to that realization. Yeah. So there isn't a big shift that happens on the character level, because a lot of what the character thought on such a deep level begins to fall short after that realization. Yeah, so there is an integration that happens that to me seems endless, this integration. But the waking up part is what we're going to talk about, and we'll also talk about the integration later on, I'm sure, is this shift from being separate to your essence, which isn't separate. So there is a character that's appearing now, and this character is such a complex thing. It's made out of thoughts, of feelings, of ideas, and it embeds itself in this body in this kind of energetic state. So it feels energetically, if you know what I mean by energetically, like there is somebody that's inside our bodies. There is this character which is inside these bodies and lives separately from everybody else and is controlling this body and controlling its life. And it's made up of so many things. It's made up of the feeling of the body, the heat of the body, the coldness of the body, the external forces to the body, so being rich or poor or good or bad, which is also internal forces. It's feelings, it's sensations, it's thoughts. These all make up this character that we call ourselves, and they express themselves like an energetic force inside the body. So it feels like that character moves your arm or moves your head or makes you speak. It feels such a personal thing. And thought is such a deep thing. And it's related to what they call conditioning, the unconscious conditioning, social conditioning, genetic, manifestation, and it's related to all of that. Like thought is so deep in our systems. So a conditioning might be to go into a situation and be very chatty, and people that aren't conscious of themselves at all would think that that's who they are. They're a very chatty person. But if you took that under a microscope, more than likely there could be a genetic component to it, but more than likely it would have been lots of conditioning which is done by thought and through social interaction. So a mother praising you when you're chatty, or a mother always showing that that's how you need to be, or a father doing that, and continuous praise from others that this is what we need to be, this is what socialization needs to look like, this is what a good girl needs to look like. And this kind of imprints itself through thought, but becomes a behavior. So the brain is interpreting all of that, but it becomes a behavior of the person, and the person thinks that is part of my characteristic. And we're all like it. We're like robots that are programmed through genetics, so prior to being born, and you could also say previous lives, and through social conditions, like I just expressed. Like every part of you is because of something that came before. There is no personality there. There's nothing that you've created. There's no you there. There's all these different components which play in a moment, giving an appearance and a feeling of you. And the conditions, so the conditioning, so like I've got to be friendly in this situation, so the urge to talk is so strong it appears to be real, and it cannot be seen as a thought, and the thought in a way is almost invisible. So the person just feels a compulsion to talk, and if people listen, maybe they feel joyful, and if people don't, they feel sad. But they don't know that talking is a result of what has come before, apparently. So it's like such a full-on thing, and they can't see that. To them, it's just like, no, I'm just talking because I want to talk. There's something I want to say. And they don't realize that they're following a conditioning that's happening. Being either way, talkative or non-talkative, it's both conditioned. Like everything is conditioned. It's so deep. And everywhere that you look, you're always painted by that character's conditioning. There's nothing that's not painted by you. So the way in which you see the world is all interpreted through that character and that particular body mind. So anything that you think you're seeing objectively, you're not. You're seeing it dependent on everything that has been conditioned into you, all thoughts. And what the waking up is an energetic shift from being that character to being this expanded consciousness that's experiencing. You can call it in different types of ways. It's coming back to what you truly are, which is this moment, which is the empty looking that's never separate from this moment, and not this time-bound character that believes in itself. And when I say time-bound character, I mean thoughts, but I also mean energies in the body that are time-bound, like these conditions. They are thoughts, but they're these conditions. So it's like you might feel resentful towards people if they behave in a certain way. And that will manifest maybe not as a conscious thought, but as a feeling in the body, and then the world is experienced like that. And this isn't who you are. Who you are is this moment. The consciousness is not separate from this moment, it's what's always here. What moves is the person in time. The consciousness is always here and still and present, it's experiencing itself, and this I am. It's right here. So what is it that's looking out of the eyes now? But what is it that's experiencing now? So what you could ask, like, what is experiencing the person? So you can see yourself. There is a seeing of this person and this person's conditions and this person's delusions, this person's fantasies. But what sees that? So if the character is being seen, then it must be that there's something prior to the character watching it. The character is appearing in the seeing. And this seeing is so deep. Like when you have the awakening, it just gets deeper and deeper in the person. It cannot get deeper and deeper because it's always the same. It's total mystery, no thing and all things. When that's being realized, like a helpful thing to do is to question the seeking. Because the seeking is what keeps the attachment to the person. So the person has conditions and has all these illusions, but the attachment to these illusions is what keeps the consciousness in the person into mind. And the I am, like the consciousness and the I am aren't separate from each other. It's also the I am. And what keeps them entwined is the idea that you are going to find your freedom in a pleasure, in time. So in having children, in getting a house, in getting lots of money, in eating food, a certain food later, in becoming famous, whatever floats your boat. But it's not true. Pleasure is something that comes and goes. Happiness comes and goes. Joy comes and goes. Sadness comes and goes. Anxiety comes and goes. The belief that freedom is found in not having anxiety and only having happiness is what keeps the hamster wheel going. The attachment, that it keeps consciousness and the person and the I am bound together as if they're one and the same thing. And what begins to separate it out is when it's seen that seeking isn't freedom. You will never find yourself in the next moment. You only ever find yourself in this moment as this empty looking and this I am. And this is the life's work. This is the lifetime's work to wake up to this again. So there's two separate things which you can do about your predicament. Is one, in every moment coming back to the I am and the empty looking. So putting the attention back in what you are. And then number two is the exploration of the person. of the illusions, like the exploration of the seeking, of traumas, of ideas, of belief systems. And in that contains emotional release and energetic release as well. And these are two different activities, but they can also be done simultaneously. Like when you're exploring the person, you can also be having your attention in the empty looking and the I am. But note, so this is a disclaimer, that the one that feels like it's doing this is an idea. That's not the empty looking, or that's not who you truly are. It's an idea that doesn't actually have autonomy and free will. It's something else that's happening. So that one that's like, yeah, I'm on your side, I'm going to help you get enlightened, we're just going to do what Lisa says here, is an illusory voice that's appearing, that's not a solid voice even, it's just a voice that keeps on repeating. So it's not a solid you. Isn't that crazy? This subject is so cool.